Please bow your heads. Dear Heavenly Father, we invite you to be in the midst of our meeting tonight. Help us to work as a unified team in combining ideas for the good of our town. Bless our first responders and keep watch over them and all those that are suffering in sickness and in pain. We ask these things in your name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now the Texas flag. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Y'all may be seated. I want to welcome everyone here tonight and those that are watching us live on live stream. Hope everybody has had a great week and tried to stay cool despite our extreme temps. I just have a couple of announcements under agenda item number 2. Don't forget the Johnson County Pioneers and Old Settlers Reunion is coming up. It's August 28th to August 31st. There will be a carnival each evening at 6 p.m. Small business vendors may contact Jamie Jones for information at 817-614-6574 about setting up. New this year is free parking. It's $1 per person entry fee. 10 and under is free at the historic Auto Tourist Gate, and the address is 111 Reunion Drive in Alvarado. They're going to be having a baby contest, a queen contest, a fiddle contest, a bake-off, and a parade, so it sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun. Just another reminder that the election filing period ends Monday, August 19 at 5 p.m. So if you haven't signed up and you want to run for office, and there are still a few more days left to get your application in and bring them into City Hall and give them to the city secretary. I want to give a thank you to Home Depot for donating 20 cases of water to Keene Fire Rescue. That was very nice of them. And also Lowe's has also donated or is planning to donate a pallet of water to Fire Rescue, and they were going to be doing a delivery this week. I don't know if it's taken place yet. Has it taken place yet, guys? I'm not sure, but it's coming. They were waiting to get a delivery driver. Okay, is Mr. Williams in here? Not yet? All right, well, we'll talk about Mr. Williams. I just want to recognize, oh, there he is. Mr. Williams, I just want to do a brief recognition of you during my mayor's comments. This is your last meeting of attendance before you are entering retirement at the end of this month. And I just wanted us to give Mr. Williams a round of applause for his service to our town for the last 5 years. He's done a great job. Thank you. I hope I didn't embarrass you. So, all right, that's it for my announcements. Council, do you have any announcements that you would like to make? Okay, moving on then to agenda item number 3, public comments. I have one from Paul Knott. Actually, I have 2 from Paul Knott. Paul Knott, if you want to step forward, he has 2 things that he would like to talk to us about, council. One that's going to take 30 seconds, and one is the reading of this sheet that we have that he said may take 3 minutes.
Okay, first of all, I just want to say we're going to miss Charles Williams. That's for sure. Okay. Council, a week from today, August 22, the Keene Chamber of Commerce is host its luncheon, our monthly luncheon. Our guest is Jim Hudspeth, the Chief Appraiser of the Johnson County Central Appraisal District. So I'm inviting you all to be there. Admission is $18. Our caterer is Old South Pancake House. Doors open 11:30. This is the second time that Mr. Hudspeth has been with us. He was with us in 2017, so we're looking forward to his presentation. Now I'd like to talk to you about what I distributed to you in these beautiful orange iridescent sheets so you can follow along with my presentation. So good evening, Council, and those watching from home. Keene has been invaded by an enemy disguised as a charity. There are 8 clothing collection boxes. And because that's hard to say, I may just say boxes in the future. 8 clothing collection boxes are positioned in Keene. There's one at Valero, but the other 7 are within 1/4 of a mile of each other, and they are from Buffalo Creek Barbecue all the way to Dollar General. It includes Family Dollar. We were to have a PowerPoint presentation slide depicting this, but I guess that's not available, but that's okay. I know you've seen them and you can imagine what blight it is. If this debris were along Lewis Lane, east or west Oakdale, Old Mansfield Road, Old Betsy Road in front of City Hall, the unsightly mess would be classified as dumping, which is illegal and would be investigated by law enforcement or code enforcement. But placed next to a collection box, it becomes charity. I encourage you and our viewers to Google anything generic about cities and collection boxes. It's just what I did. You know, you don't know what to Google, so I put in, what are cities doing about clothing collection boxes? I also put in cities challenges with clothing collection boxes. And most interesting, I tried, are clothing collection boxes an asset for a city? This last one was very interesting. Under the ladder, there's a link to a 2023 June investigation by the Toronto Star about clothing collection boxes across Canada. The story reveals the reason, and I had a great photo. There is one of these at Dollar General that has a new sophisticated deposit opening. And you would think it's intended to prevent me from reaching in and grabbing some designer label jeans and selling them somewhere. But no, that's not the reason. The reason is this: between 2015 and 2019, in Canada, 8 people died after crawling into those boxes to spend the night or from falling attempting to remove the items. These things are a threat to our life. In my opinion, there are 4 important items. 1, collection boxes are unsupervised, and the items that are dumped are not intended to be collected by charity. It's possible the majority of the offenders do not reside in Keene. Otherwise, why not use the bulk trade pickup that's available to them from Republic Services? 2, collection of items by the charity is sporadic, resulting in unsightly piles of debris in front of or near businesses such as Buffalo Creek Barbecue, Family Dollar, and Texas Adventist Book Center. I'm really sorry these photos are not available. It would say instantly what I'm saying in 10,000 words. Number 3, the policing of the collection boxes by business owners has resulted in face-to-face confrontations with the business owner placed in danger of physical harm. Now, is Matt Watkins here? Okay, I don't see Matt. He promised me he would try to be here. Matt Watkins is the owner of Buffalo Creek Barbecue. He joined the chamber last Monday. He'll be recognized at our luncheon next Thursday with his membership plaque. He's got a business to run, but he is constantly running outside to photograph the license plates of vehicles dumping trash in the dumpsters or the collection boxes. He's been physically threatened many times. Why should Matt have to incur the expense of security cameras to catch the culprit, who may want to retaliate against Matt and his business? And number 4, all this dilutes the mission of a local, beautifully landscaped, licensed, and legal charity, the Keene Impact Center. Recently, residents and non-residents completed a drive that resulted in $380,000 to support the new building for this service that does everything and so much more than will ever be accomplished by these collection box charities, none of whom headquarter in Keene. The other day, Bonnie and I drove into Cleburne. We drove along Henderson, Business 67, from Valero and Keene all the way to Hampton Inn. There was no collection boxes. Not one. Now, I understand from Don, there may be some behind these places, but I didn't see any out front. So I called Cleburne, I called Code Enforcement, and I have sent each of you, council, the names of the people who I talked to. So it looks like it's possible. But the reason there are no collection boxes visible in Cleburne on Henderson are, number one, permits and licensing. Cleburne requires that. Number two, policing and monitoring. And three, they told me enforcement includes removal of and impounding those collection boxes. Removing the collection boxes simultaneously improves the appearance of Keene and supports and protects business owners like Matt Watkins. Council, remove those collection boxes.
Thank you, Mr. Knott. All right, we have one more public comment. Debbie Bells.
Debbie Bell, 900 County Road 805B. Council members, Mrs. Parrish. I'm here tonight to discuss the posts that Mrs. Parrish did on her mayor Facebook page on July 20th, 2024. But first, I'd like to make a statement regarding your comment in your mayor address on 7/18/24 during the council meeting. You stated that you do not condone hate speech or violence at any time. I also feel this way, as I have had hate speech done to me on Facebook. However, there is freedom of speech, and nothing much I can do about it, and neither can you. Hate speech is determined by each individual. You may say what I'm talking tonight is hate. However, when someone can back it up with documentation, it becomes truth. This hate may be interpreted by the guilty so that the individual can make themselves look like a victim. Now back to your post on July 20. You stated that 11 of the 12 charter members have slandered you, etc., during council meetings and outside. This is quite a harsh statement, and to me, I consider it hate speech. Do you have proof that I slandered you? I have documented proof on anything I have commented on you in open meeting. You also stated that 7 of the 12 on the Charter Commission were handpicked. However, each individual had to apply for this commission. Applications were available on the Keene website. To tell the public this was definitely hateful and false. There were only 7 applications to the Charter Commission, and no other applications were sent in. Therefore, we were not handpicked. To say this was a waste of your valuable time, shame on you. We all gave up valuable time to do what we felt was for the best of the Keene citizens and the city. We, the Charter Commission, are citizens of Keene and part of the voting public. You seem to think that everything done is about you. However, you could not be further from the truth. We all kept an open mind on what was discussed during session. Nothing was discussed outside of session. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bells. All right, agenda item number 4, reports. Receive and discuss the fiscal year 2023 audit for the city of Keene conducted by BDK Forvis.
Mayor, if I may, we are having a little bit of a technical difficulty. Our screens
Oh.
worked up to 4 minutes before council meeting. So
Oops.
we are making copies for everyone. Those should be done here quickly.
Okay. Well, good evening, Mayor, City Council. I see a few familiar faces up here and maybe a few new ones that I don't know. Thank you all for having me tonight. My name is Rachel Ormsby, and I'm your partner on the engagement, and I'm here to present the fiscal year 2023 audit results. So every year, I feel like we get earlier and earlier with giving these presentations, so that is definitely something to be proud about. So just to kind of jump right into the overall audit results. So this year, there are a couple of new components. As you all have received ARPA funding, so the Coronavirus State and Local Fiscal Recovery Funds, you've received that over the last several years and started spending on that. So this year, you actually did meet the requirement to have a separate single audit or a compliance audit as known. And so just to kind of, and I have these, and I'm sure these are being printed for you all. We are final. Our reports were finalized on July 30th. And so we were just waiting to be able to be here and present these results. But the reports are final, and they have been distributed to all interested parties. So in terms of the financial statements, we did issue a clean, unmodified opinion on the financial statements. In terms of any issues that we found, and so we did have a couple of material weaknesses in internal control over financial reporting, and I wanted to just briefly kind of talk a little bit about that and give some explanation there as to kind of what that relates to. And so, you have a small team here in finance, and with that comes any potential issues in segregation of duties. And so really, as I kind of talk through these, I know it's budget season time, and so just keep an open mind that this team could use additional help in the finance and accounting realm. I'll tell you, there's been a lot of extra work that has come from receiving ARPA funding. GASB, who is the standard-setting board that you all have to follow, they have been very busy over the last several years issuing accounting pronouncements that governmental entities have to adopt and implement. And so while you all are up to date on all GASB pronouncements that have been issued, which is an A, that comes with a lot of extra time and resources. And so just keep this in mind that while we have findings, there's room for improvement and there's room for opportunities for additional staffing to help these folks out. So, bank statements, they have not been reconciled as regularly as we would like, and so that's just a suggestion to consider making sure that the bank statements are reconciled. We were able to obviously issue an audit because we believe the financial statements are materially correct, but it is a best practice to make sure that the bank reconciliations are being done in a timely manner. And I know they're being reviewed, and I know that you all have a lot of checks and balances. There's a lot of eyes that look at cash in and cash out. So just doing that extra step, reconciliations are important, and so making sure that those happen in a timely manner, right? And that also just comes with timely reporting. All of this just comes with reconciliations, timely reporting will really help kind of this team streamline those processes. But again, despite all of the extra requirements that have came with getting grant money, it comes with extra responsibility and extra time and resources required by that. In terms of the single audit, so that's something new. The city has never had to have a single audit. You've never received this much of federal funding. And so the requirement is that for anybody that spends more than $750,000 in federal awards, you're by law required to have this separate compliance audit. So you did in fact do that, and that has been submitted to the Federal Audit Clearinghouse, I believe yesterday. We got that submitted, and so we're in compliance there. It's required to be done within 30 days of your audit report, and so it was done in 2 weeks. So that's been submitted by all accounts there. But as part of this audit with the compliance, we did have a finding, and I think this stems from, it's probably not news, we've had some turnover down here in the city manager and in the management function. And so there was a report that was required to be submitted, and it was actually, the reminders were going to an old email address, and so the city was not aware that they had missed a reporting deadline. As soon as they were notified of that, it was rectified and the report was submitted. But unfortunately, as part of the audit, we're testing facts and circumstances that happened during the period we're auditing, right? And so that report did get missed during the period of audit. But again, it's been submitted, it's been rectified, and there's been controls that have been put in place. The right email addresses, the right people that need to know the reporting requirements have been addressed there. And then in terms of just other things, the staff work really hard to prepare for us, and we have been working over the last several months to get this audit done. I know every year we strive to get this done more timely. The goal is always to have it done. Best practice would be by March, but every year we work incrementally harder and stronger to make this a more timely report for you all. But like I said, even though we had some bumps in the road, there is room for improvement, and I would highly encourage you just to think about financial reporting is very important, and think about the time and skills and resources that you could add to this team, because financial reporting is, really important.
Okay.
But again, up to date on all GASB pronouncements, which is what you need to be doing. You're in compliance from what I know now with all the reporting and who this needs to go to. So I would say let's put this year behind us. It was a learning experience, especially with the federal funding, and move forward. So with that, I know that was a lot of information to digest, but I am happy to answer any questions that anyone has.
Now, is this the same type of report we got last time? Did we get a clean, unmodified report?
You got it. So you have received clean, unmodified opinions in the past. It's just in the past, you haven't had to have this separate compliance audit. And so that audit, we did have to, and thank you for asking that. So that audit, since we did have the finding with reporting, we did have to qualify that report, that opinion, because there was only one report that was required to be submitted, and it just was not submitted. So when you look at 100% error, that we did qualify our opinion for the single audit, but again, it has been rectified. So although it was missed during the period that we are required to audit, we know, because we can see that corrective action and measures have been taken and it's been addressed.
Okay. Council, do you have any questions? All right, I think we're good.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
And let me know, I know in years past, we've had some kind of pre-meetings, ahead of time with the committee. So if there's anything that we can do going forward, just let me know. But a really great job, and I know Mr. Williams leaving. It's going to be tough shoes to step into, but I know that you're going to do great. And like I said, just anywhere where you can get this team some additional help, I know it would be greatly beneficial and valuable.
All right, we'll do that.
Thank you all so much.
All right, agenda item 4B, receive and discuss the city manager's report. Mr. Batla?
Evening, Mayor and Council. I have a few things to report. We've got quite a bit of housekeeping done at City Hall as far as our records. Our records consultants have come in, and we've got building inspections squared away and our permanent records room in nice order now. And so I'd like to thank Holly for that. A lot of work that's gone into that. Savor Keene, September 22nd. We were made aware of a potential issue with Antique Alley. The community met, the team met yesterday, the planning committee met yesterday on this, and it may be beneficial, it may not. If you go to Antique Alley and buy an antique, then come to Keene to eat. So we really need a good showing from the public, and we're working on vendors. And depending on how many vendors we get signed up, and we need to get some traction on this, we'll have to make a decision by the end of this month whether to push that across the finish line or not. So please let everybody know we need to start getting some feedback on that, and so we can plan accordingly. And then last but not least, we've received several citizen reports of issues with trees in right-of-way, and that's a pretty significant amount of our reports that come in. But I want to make council and I want to make the citizens aware of something. We're about to get our boom mower up and operational, and we're about to start a tree cutting program. Now there's good and bad to this, all right? When Public Works cuts trees, they are not arborists. They go through and cut them. So it is the property owner's responsibility to take care of their trees immediately adjacent to their property line. What I've asked Public Works to do is start with the safety issues, okay? But if you don't want some kind of tree butchered, and it does need to be trimmed back, then you'll need to trim that. That's for the public. But I just want y'all to know, because this could generate as many complaints as the trees themselves if we go through and butcher them. So I just want to make you aware of that. That's about to get kicked off, and that's all I have tonight.
All right, any questions for Mr. Batla?
Are we giving them notice that we're gonna do this?
We could.
I think that's the first thing. I mean, like you said, where they don't complain. If
Yeah,
they
I'm
know
not
we're
sure.
coming through, then they can't have no excuse to say, hey, we didn't get no notice
Yeah,
for this. I mean, that would only be
yeah,
fair for them.
yeah.
That's what I
Look
believe.
into that. Yeah, we'll figure out how to do that.
All right, appreciate it.
You could maybe just do a post on the Facebook page or something,
Yeah.
and we could share it around.
Yeah.
It might be hard to notify them any other way, but
Okay.
we can do our best. Okay, any other questions for Mr. Batla? Okay, moving on. Agenda item number 4C, receive and discuss the financial report for the month ending July 31st, 2024. This will be Mr. Williams' last financial report that he has to do for us.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Good to see you again.
So we do have one screen up for the public over here, and then your slideshow.
This is through July 31st, the 10th month of the year. Happy to report, first of all, the property taxes, we got in well more than the target. The target right now is at 83.3%. Here we got at 104. So that's a lot of gravy there for us to use and utilize. Sales tax is kind of on a downward side. We're not getting as much as we are projecting. A lot of that is due to the economy, things that we cannot control, of course. One thing I want to point out is the portion toward the middle where it has miscellaneous revenues and the court. Those are exceeding what our projections are, and that's are very good numbers, especially in the court. So they are really pushing hard and getting the revenue in. Everyone else is holding steady. We're getting a little more than we are in the fire department, which is great. And at the bottom line number, that 90%, that's pretty good in comparison to what our target date is for this year. Any questions? Our expenditures is, the bottom line number is well below our target, which is always favorable. The owner number, I think I mentioned last month about non-departmental, most of that is from the TML insurance. They went quite high. And as you know from the news media, they saying the insurance gonna go up a lot higher in the fall. So we kind of projecting that in our budget. So, any questions? Here's our sales in comparison to last year. We're doing pretty steady and pretty good. Property tax, a lot less, but that is normal between July and September. We don't get as much each month. It tapers off. Water and sewer, the revenues, I always look at the bottom number. We right at target on that. Some work still need to be done on the billing side for water, and portion on the sewer, as you see, is right at 72 and 70%, where our goal is 83%. Any questions? Oh, one thing to note is the interest income. As you can see, it almost tripled in revenue, so that's very good. Thank you to you, Council. Those are the revenues. And as you can see, we're hanging right around the target. Expenses is doing very favorable, well. So that's something to really appreciate Mr. Malone and Water Sewer Departments and making sure we are within our goal. Same thing on the sewer. That highlighted in blue is that 250 some thousand that we got for development agreement that we have not touched. So that's a good thing. We have an ace in our pocket for that, for future uses. And then last but not least is our monthly. Normally this is done quarterly, but I do it monthly for the sake of, in the spirit of transparency. And as you can see, those are the numbers we have. We did add in the street rehab fund in the mix now. We do show the amounts from all other decrease of activities in the other, like sidewalk, sewer, ARPA funds, to keep track of that. One thing I will note on the CDBG grant, we have some usage of that. Remember, that's an annual grant, so we must continue to use it, all of it, or we'll have issues in the following year to try to reapply. So we have a lot of things going on, and it is good news. 5 years ago, I wouldn't have said that on none of them, as you know. None of the accounts, none of the grants. We are situated financially strong, and that's for at least 2 to 3 years to come until, like our city manager said, it start leveling off. And that's normal in most cities. But right now, City of Keene is financially strong for the next 3 years. And I apologize. It's been a joy. I mean that. Normally, the working hours is 40 hours. I put in a lot more than that, as you know. But I don't mind. And I told, I think Lisa Belts, Gutwa, some of you was here in the beginning, I said, I'll put my heart in it. And I think I've done that. Well, my wife thinks so. Because I'm away from her, more with you. But she get the enjoyment. But I will come back in any capacity because my heart is here. And city manager, he'll talk more on it. But I enjoy working here. I enjoy staff. I enjoy the city. It's here. And when something is here and not here and anywhere else, you put a lot of commitment and loyalty in it. And I thank you. No, don't thank me. Thank you, City of Keene, for being there and being who you are. Because every time I wear that shirt, right here, I used to play sports. And usually your logo is right next to the heart. And the coach used to tell me, when you put on that uniform, you're playing with the heart. So I leave you with that. And I want to thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Williams.
Thank you.
He's being a little humble about he used to play sports. He used to play against Larry Bird. So just for the true story.
Okay. We're going to miss you, Mr. Williams. All right, agenda item number 5, we have no public hearing tonight, so we can move on, council, to agenda item number 6, consent agenda. Does anybody want to remove this one item from the consent for discussion? If not, I just need a motion.
I move the consent agenda be approved as presented.
Second.
We have a motion To approve the consent agenda as presented by Foster and a second by Gutwa. All in favor, raise your hand. Motion is carried. You abstaining? One abstain, Chuck Easley. Okay, agenda item number 7, review, discuss, and consider adopting a resolution authorizing the submission of an application to the CDBG MIT Resilient Communities Program.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Council. My name is Dalton Aiken with Public Management. We're a grant consulting firm that assists the city on several of those grants that Mr. Williams mentioned. So this program is a comprehensive planning grant. The city could apply for up to $300,000 to complete a comprehensive plan. There's zero match from the city. It's a really unique opportunity, and we're really excited about getting to assist the city with this. So the city is, this application resolution is for the full application of $300,000 to complete housing, population, land use, infrastructure, zoning, and several other elements, lots of community engagement as well. So I'm happy to answer any questions, but once this application resolution is approved, we're hoping to submit the application by the end of August at the latest.
So this is a grant for up to $300,000?
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
Council, do you have any questions?
Do we have a specific project in mind for this?
So the grant itself pays for the comprehensive plan. That is the deliverable. It'll be a physical plan as well as physical and digital mapping files and town halls, community survey. That's the actual deliverable that the grant's paying for.
So we're getting a grant to make a plan for a hazard mitigation plan, so that's what it's paying for, so.
All right, that's what I thought I read, just wanted to make sure.
Yes, sir.
But these plans, I'm assuming, cost up to $300,000, so it's still a benefit to the city
Yes, absolutely.
to
And
apply for it.
again, zero match. The only fund that the city are out is one newspaper publication.
Okay. And do we have a good shot, you think, of getting it?
Absolutely, yeah. It's first
It's
come,
worth
first
it.
serve. There's no deadline on this, but the GLO has $100 million throughout the state. And as of our last request, the GLO, around $29 million has been received in applications. So they still have plenty of
Okay.
time.
What is the time period we're looking at?
So once the application's submitted, the GLO is kind of differed on when when contracts are getting released. Typically 6 to 8 months, the city will have an executed contract with the state, and then a typical comprehensive planning period is 18 to 24 months.
Any other questions, council? So I'm assuming this is something that we need to do. All cities need to have this, a hazard mitigation plan.
Absolutely, and if we discussed possibly having a park section, and so that will help with future Texas Parks and Wildlife grants. Hazard mitigation sections help with HMGP grants, and so all of this work will go towards guiding the city towards more grant funds.
And no matching
And I
funds. We got
believe,
nothing to
has
lose.
your sidewalk plan as well, right? Yeah,
Yes.
so that'll help us work on that as well.
So would you mind repeating that last statement? This helps us guide toward, and then I didn't hear what you said.
So all of these studies will basically inform the city on what projects would be eligible for future grants. And so taking our knowledge of grant funding, we kind of piece out these projects and the goals and objectives so they make really good applications that we think would be eligible for funding.
I see. I'll make a motion to adopt the resolution authorizing the submission of an application to the CDBG MIT Resilient Communities Program.
Second.
All right, thank you all very much for your time, appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. All right, we have a motion on the floor to adopt the resolution authorizing the submission of an application to the CDBG MIT Resilient Communities Program by Foster and a second by Beeson. Any further questions, discussion on this motion? All in favor, raise your hand. It's unanimous, motion is carried. All right, agenda item number 7B, review and discuss the no new revenue rate, the voter approval tax rate, and the city's proposed tax rate for fiscal year 2024-2025. Following discussion of the tax rates, the city council may consider approving the proposed tax rate for 2024-2025, which must be a record vote, and schedule the public hearing dates for the proposed tax rate and budget.
Good evening, Mayor, Councilor Dean. On here, We at that time of season again. And kind of give you a quick synopsis of it. I think we don't have it on screen, the difference of all three. So we have a good idea where we're going. The first one is called the no new revenue rate. What that rate is indicating from the county that we can use another rate that produced the same amount of revenue as last year. And this rate doesn't require any voter approval or election for that. It will be something to consider when we think about the budget and the tax rate in that. The other part, before I get to the adopted rate, this one is called the, lost my train of thought. The adopted rate, let me explain about the adopted rate first. The adopted rate is what we are trying to approve now with this budget going for next year. That's the adopted rate. That's 0.834134. That's the rate we have currently and what we are considering going forward, if that be the decision of the council. Let me back up. The no new revenue rate is at 0.826578, which is 0.007556 less than our current rate. But we'll get the same amount of revenue as last year. It's a reduced rate, same amount of revenue, and it's something to consider, and I must say, it relieves some burden with the taxpayers. The other rate is the voters approve rate. That rate is 0.865367. Now, the voters approve rate, some cities do that. They wait till election time to vote on an increase in the rate if they are doing more programs or doing other things that the city requires, and it requires the voters' approval. In all the cities I work for, we never went to voters' approval, kind of give you the idea. We either have adopted or the no new revenue to go against. The other rate is called diminished. We're not even going to talk about that because it's so high, 0.96. I mean, it's not worth it for the discussion of it itself. So those are the rates that we're looking at.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. So what you're saying is on this no new revenue rate, which I've never really seen one in the last few years since I've been serving that's so close to the rate that we've already adopted and the one we've been using, because we've discussed this before, that if we lower it by 1 cent, it costs the city usually about $50,000 in projected revenue. But you're saying that we could adopt the no new revenue rate and it's not going to change the bottom line. We're going to bring in the same amount of revenue,
Right.
approximately?
That is exactly right, Mayor. You're exactly right. What it is, since it's 0.007, less than that 1%, it only decreased revenue by $25,000.
Okay.
Yes.
So just 25,000. All right, council, that's something to consider. There are several other cities in our county that are looking at adopting the no new revenue rate. I know Grandview is one of them, and Fort Worth is another one. And some of the other cities are putting this on their budget. It's something that we've looked at, at least I have, over the last several years trying to achieve. And if this is the opportunity in the year that we could do it, will that save us then from having to do like a public hearing and advertise it? Because we technically won't be voting to raise taxes.
That is correct.
So that would save the city money
If the attorney.
if we adopt the no new revenue rate. Because in the past, we've always had to raise taxes by going to the higher rate. I'm sorry? I can't hear you.
We've dropped the rate.
Yes, we have dropped it, but we've never dropped it as low as what's been brought to us as the no new revenue rate, which is basically collecting the same revenue that we collected the year before. And he's telling us because the margin is so close this year, I'm not sure why, but because it is, we can drop to that rate, avoid having to have a public hearing and having to post that in the paper that we're going to be raising taxes, and we can adopt the no new revenue rate this year with maybe a $25,000, he said, difference.
Well, let me just remind council that there's a big iceberg sitting out there about, with this sewer plant,
Yes.
that is going to bite us big time somewhere down the road, so let's also consider that in this grand scheme of things.
We have a fire truck and an ambulance to pay for too.
I understand.
So just for consideration, excuse me.
Go ahead.
Just for consideration, you know, at our bottom line number for this next fiscal year budget currently proposed is 95,000 in the positive. So according to Charles, is it 25 or 50,000?
It's 25,000.
Okay, so you'd subtract 25,000 off the top of that.
Okay.
So we'd be looking at about 70.
All
I
right.
think this is part of that flattening off
Yeah.
that we expected, so.
Mr. Gua?
Yes, Mayor. So we have been promising the taxpayer, for those who have been following, we'll say we'll do it next year. Now, I think this is the next year that we have been talking about. If I think we can be able to relieve the taxpayer, it's not a lot of money based on 27,000. If we can be able to give the taxpayers some kind of relief, and we know there are some projects that are coming online. We have AllSub, Tractor Supply. We are having development going on. I think we should be okay with this cushion and the stats that we have been getting from the finance.
Yes.
So 0.826578, I think will be reasonable, just for the sake of the taxpayers.
Mr.
How much
Foster?
is the sewer plant going to cost us?
We're just kind of throwing a
Ballpark.
number out there, 20 million, 25 million, somewhere around.
So in 10 years, we're going to raise $10 million by keeping the tax rate the same?
Oh, is that my question? Okay.
That's a question. I'm saying, let's don't talk
Yes.
about today. Let's talk about, hey, I can't budget my house for what happened today. I have to look down the road. And looking down the road, I see this huge iceberg called the sewer plant that we absolutely have to have. There's no way around it with the growth that we're going to experience. And so, say we drop it a penny this year, somewhere we're going to be raising it to this de minimis rate that Charles just mentioned, and we're all going to lose our jobs. Just a
The-
thought.
Okay, Mayor, I think that's a very good concern. But I know the taxpayers have been kind of putting something in our ears, unless somebody hasn't spoken to you. They are saying if,
They speak to me.
oh, okay, okay.
Don't kid
So
yourself.
if we can be able to give them a break, I know the sewer is an issue. It has been an issue for some years. It's easier to go back to them because there's no way, even if you raise the taxes, we won't be able to raise as much as what we might be able to expect. So we are looking into maybe a bond. And if the voters approve that they want a good system to be in place, and they know we have been kind of, working on a tight budget. So just giving them a little relief makes it easier. And a lot of things are coming online. The city manager can, agree with you or agree with me here. So I think 27,000, I think it's a good relief for the taxpayer. And then next year, I know as everything comes online, I think we are going to get more money coming in from sales tax and other things that goes with it. And then we have also impact fee, so things like that. So there are a lot of channels that we have that might work for our favor. Thank you.
Impact fees are not going to help us at all with the sewer plant at this point, because all of those developments that we have now are pre-impact fee. So that money's gone. And the whole reason that many of us are sitting up here hearing about the streets is because City Council for a year has kicked the can down the road. and not been willing to look at this tax issue and say what's best for the community. And down the road, we drive on rough streets. I mean, that's one thing I hear constantly. And now it's becoming a problem, and it's going to cost us $1 million per block, I think is the number, somewhere that, to replace the infrastructure. What's on top? I mean, folks, we've got a big problem here, and, and I don't remember, it seems to me like it cost the average homeowner or the average household, was it $25 a year for every penny? $25 a year for every household, not person. That's a household in Keene, $2 a month to go a penny up on their taxes. That's a pretty easy sell when you look at this monster we've got sitting down the road, if you ask me.
Mayor,
Go ahead.
I guess I'm the guy that's going to address the elephant in the room. The group that you invited in support last week brought up this doing away with property taxes. You bet, I'm all for it. However, I don't know if anybody in the audience knows how much of our budget is supported by sales tax. Anybody out there know? 11% is supported by sales tax. If this crew that jumps in the middle of this thing, and they said they're going to do away with taxes, I don't know if they've got a plan to do that. I haven't been told that plan. What are we going to do? We're going to fold up, we're going to decommission, and we're going to close the doors and go home. So those of you folks that want to do away with that and are supporting that, you may want to take a second look at it. Yeah, I want my taxes gone too, but we have no sales tax. Now, I don't particularly think that can happen, but even if we get a bunch of reductions in our property taxes, where are we going to go? We're wanting to reduce it $25,000, and we're only $95,000 to the good. We better think about this.
Mr. Williams, I have a question. When we're getting ready to make a plan to upgrade the sewer plant, is that money coming from property tax, or is that not being funded by the Water Sewer Fund, which is a separate enterprise?
When you say storefront,
Yeah, the sewer fund, when we want to upgrade the sewer plant.
yes, that's
Because the
strictly.
question was brought up that we need to not lower our tax rate because we need to save that money for the sewer plant, but
No,
do we not get that from our water bill and our sewer bill, and that money goes into that account?
and that is restricted just for that.
And we have $500,000, I believe, in our budget extra coming from the water sewer fund this year that can be held onto and saved for that sewer plant upgrade, not $25,000 in property tax.
Right, those are two separate things.
That's what I
The
thought.
property tax for general fund, water and sewers for a separate fund.
Okay,
So-
because at some point, we may have to address raising the water bill, which I don't want to have to do, but we're going to have to at some point, or the sewer bill, in order to make those upgrades. We haven't done that in, over a decade, I know, raised our rates.
But how long is it going to take? How many years? We're looking at years before we do that, right, Charles?
Yeah,
Yes, it's a long-term plan.
Okay, 10 years is a long time,
Right.
correct? So we need to think about 10 years and not today and tomorrow.
Well, for me, from my experience, it's best to start now, start thinking about it, and your talking discussion is going toward that way, because 10 years can be right around the corner for some folks.
If we save $500,000 a year, how much is that in 10 years?
Yeah, well,
Oh, that's
1/4 down.
1/4,
Of
and
a
in
million.
10 years, prices increase.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. If I can address, I know Councilmember Bell's. No, I'm just trying to kind of, eliminating property tax, this is a theme that is coming from the governor and legislatures. If they decide to eliminate that, small cities have to figure out, and that's what I've been singing here for some years, we need to get our economic development going so that at least we have some kind of leverage with sources of income, not just property tax. But going back to the discussion here, I know last year we were treading on a very thin ice we were operating with 25,000, if I can remember.
That was the original budget presentation, but by the time the dust settled, we were up, I think, 186. or
180, yes.
Yes, okay. So we were looking at that, but I know the insurance is coming. We might find some savings. I know that's another topic of another, for another discussion. That 75,000, we might find we are around maybe, we might save another maybe 30 or 40, something like that, close to that. And the reason is, when I talk to the taxpayers out there, they are very honest. I mean, they will tell you, some of them have lived here for many years, and they will tell you they have been tracking the way, as a city, the way we have been managing their finances, and they are keeping an eye on it. And on some, I can say, on some instances, they are happy with what is going on. At a certain point, we are going to have to go back and tell them, can you fund some of these projects? They have to go through the bond. And they will have to either approve or disapprove. So all these sewer, streets, we have to go back to them. So what they are trying to say, these other cities have realized since COVID, a lot of citizens have been, inflation, everything has doubled. The home that used to be built for maybe 3 million now is 6 million, everything. Go to the store, you'll see. So 27,000 is just a small relief. As things come online, we have to have another discussion, talk to the taxpayer and tell them, now you have been, the cookie jar is empty and we need help. They are willing to. But I think giving them a relief of 27,000, which Councilmember Rob Foster said is $2 per year, it might not be a lot, but the relief, it's about this figure, 8.2, instead of 8.3. At least we can have that discussion in another time. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Easley?
According to our website, there's 1,923 homes in Keene. That works out to $13 per household, per home, is the 25,000. It's $13 per household. We need to start planning today for our income. We do not need to bet on a house that isn't built. Betting on the future will not work. We need to start planning today.
Council member, that's the theme we have been having. More rooftops are coming.
Are they?
It's a projection.
Are they? It's a prediction, but you're betting on the future.
Have you driven in the city here?
I have.
I'm seeing a lot of
I've seen
movement.
a lot of dirt turn.
Oh.
I've seen a lot of dirt turn. I've not seen houses built yet. I've seen
What
a lot
it
of
is,
dirt.
more than the $13, Mr. Easley, it's just a perception. It's a perception,
Well,
even
no,
though
it's
they
also an
may not be
election
saving
year.
a lot
It's an election year too.
to people that know that we're lowering the rate. Like, we've lowered it in the past. 1 year, we lowered it 3 cents. 1 year, we lowered it a penny. I think a couple of years we did that. 1 year, we kept it the same. So it's just a perception to people that we're trying to move in the right direction. We're trying to offer them some relief with the high appraisals and lower it.
Are we
So-
offering them a relief, but we're not offering any more services? The streets are still failing. Our sewer plant has a ticking time bomb on it. We've got to start working on these issues today. And if $13 more per household is a way to step toward it without going crazy, then we need to start looking at small incremental steps.
All right, well, council, tonight, all that we need to do is we're going to make a motion to approve a proposed tax rate, which is basically the max threshold. So tonight, all you're doing is saying the max threshold. So if council wants to make a motion to adopt the rate that we have now currently, we still have another opportunity in September where we could lower it to the no new revenue rate.
I move that the council approve the proposed tax rate of .834134 per $100 of taxable assessed value for fiscal year 2025. Should that be 24, 25? And set the date for the public hearing to receive public comments during the September 19 regular council meeting.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
All right, at this time, I need to call for a record vote, which means I'm going to call out each council member's name individually, and I need you to answer yes, that you are voting to make a motion to approve the proposed tax rate of .834134 per $100 of taxable assessed value for the fiscal year 2025, and set the date for a public hearing to receive public comments during the September 19, regular council meeting. So I'm going to go in order according to the sheet that I have in front of me. So Mr. Bells, yes or no?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson, yes or no?
Yes.
Mr. Gutwa?
No.
Mr. Easley?
Yes.
Ms. Beeson?
Yes.
And Mr. Foster?
Yes.
All right, thank you, council. All right, the motion is carried with a vote of 5-1. All right, moving on to agenda item number 7C. Review, discuss, and consider possible action on employee health care benefit options. Mr. Batla, are you speaking to this one?
Yes, good
Okay.
evening again, Mayor and Council. So this is an important meeting. We do have to make a decision tonight on this to make our open enrollment timelines and to get the budget in good order for our next council meeting. So, okay, you have a slide here that is the same information that was presented at last council meeting with one minor change. Last council meeting, the bottom option, that additional option of the high deductible health plan was 123, 102 in savings. I wanted to be a little bit more conservative on that because after meeting with staff, I think we may have a few less people sign up for that. So I did change that number to what's in your current packet to 100, 502. So I can go back over each of these. I'll just give you the brief cliff notes. Option A is keeping our current plan as it is with Blue Cross Blue Shield. Option B is switching to United Healthcare, which is their version of mirroring our current plan. That's a savings of $27,324. Option C would be a raising of the deductible from $500 to $1,500, and then on the family side, $1,500 to $3,000. That change with switching to United Healthcare equates to $73,339. And then if we give the additional option of a high deductible health plan, this is one of those rare win-wins where depending on where employees are in life and health and family and kids, et cetera, a high deductible health plan can be a huge tax advantage. They can put money into their high deductible health plan, and it gives them the option between choosing a PPO or a high deductible health plan. They will have that option. And so that I'm estimating at around $100,000 if you paired that up with option C. And I'm happy to take any questions on healthcare.
All right, so essentially, we need a motion to adopt an option number as presented, or say for employee health care benefits for the fiscal year 2024, 2025, something to that effect.
Where do we sit in surrounding cities and what they offer for healthcare versus what we offer for healthcare?
Currently, we have better healthcare benefits than a lot of the other places. I do think it is difficult for us to keep up salary-wise, but I think we're in better shape than most of the others benefit-wise. So that's something to consider. It does help with retention to have those better benefits. And I'm sorry, I don't have the slide. I think it was the first budget presentation. It showed a matrix with all the other cities. Keene was in a little bit of an outlier position, but so that's where our current. Well, so we had a lower deductible and a higher contribution than some of the other cities in that comparison.
But we can't go back again. We can't compare with the other cities. We don't have the money Josh has got, Venus got. We don't have it like that. It'd be a whole different story if we had the money, but we don't.
So virtually any of these save money, any of these options.
That's what, yeah.
All right, so council, if we adopt option C and then I guess and the additional option, we need to do both of those. We're looking at about $100,000 savings that'll go back into our budget. And that would help us in the next fiscal year at around a couple $100,000,
Correct, so.
somewhere around there.
And we're sitting roughly 95,000 right now. If you did choose that, it would be about,
Which is a very low number because that doesn't give us a whole lot of wiggle room for anything that might happen during the year.
Charles is probably the best I've ever seen. He's within 1% every year, but still, you know, there are emergencies that come up. So this, you know, we're barely at a 1% contingency.
But typically, we need about 200,000 would be
Yeah,
your
that's a
recommendation to kind of
safety.
keep that in there as a cushion.
Yeah.
So if we have something, an additional expense come up, we'll be able to fund it.
I have a question, Mayor. So regarding these options, which is a very good kind of way of breaking down the options that we have as a city, as compared to the previous years that we have been going through this, I know we have we are currently having like a dependent kind of option that we have like 70%. So what are we looking at in terms of cost-wise if we were to have it at 60%?
So if we went from 70 to 60%, that would equate to $31,000
Okay.
total.
All right, you said 30,000?
31,000.
31,000.
To be exact, 31,708.
Okay, so that would be another motion. If we wanted to have another discussion on that as separate from the option, council, we can make a motion to select which option we want for the plan, and then if we want to discuss changing the dependent coverage, we can have another motion about that and keep that separate.
Hi.
Mr. Foster, did you have something?
How much was that in the budget that you proposed?
I'm sorry.
In the, like, there's a budget addendum that you brought back to us at the last meeting, and I'm trying to look through my notes here and I can't find it. But wasn't there like a STEP program in that budget that was funded by this current?
Yes, we do have the
And
public
what did
safety
that-
step program.
What did that cost us, or how much was that going to run?
If we could take a brief recess, that is on my desk. I can get that to you.
You want to take a brief recess and let him go look for it?
I would.
All right, let's take a recess for 5 minutes. It's 7:08 PM. I'm calling a recess. All right, it's 7:13 PM. I'm going to call the council back into session. I was approached during the break, and I have a citizen that would just like to make a quick announcement, real quick, so I don't know if she's in the room. Did she, okay, yeah, they are. So I would just like to revisit public comments for just a minute and allow her to step forward for about 10 seconds.
Hello, I'm Gina. I just want to make everybody in the city aware that we are doing voter registration drives at the Dollar General parking lot every Saturday, probably for the next 3 to 4 weeks, from 10 to 4. So if you know anybody that needs their voter registration updated or make sure that they have it done, we'll have an app there so we can look, make sure everybody's registered or not. If they're not, we can do it right there on the spot. Okay?
All right, thank you, Gina.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay, back to agenda item number 7C, review, discuss, and consider possible action on employee health care benefit options. All right, so Mr. Batla, you retrieved something?
Yes, so the
Okay.
public safety step plan was 98.5.
I'd like to see us go to option C with the ability to do the additional health savings plan.
Okay.
Because it looks to me like with the step plan, we would offset through salary what they would be possibly losing in health coverage.
All right.
That's just my thought.
Would you like to make a motion? That was more of a discussion, so I didn't know if that was a motion.
That was just for discussion, that's all.
Okay. Any other discussion, council, on this? Mr. Easley?
Do we have any idea how many dependents are taking the healthcare program versus employees?
We
Is it-
do. Charles, do you have a rough number on that? Or Donna?
Or a percentage?
And I gotta do this. I have to read that?
1/3, so roughly 30%.
Third?
See?
Okay.
Oh, how do I do that?
But I think we'll probably have maybe 15 to 20% choose the high deductible.
Right.
plan.
Okay, Mayor, I think, is it okay to make a motion right now?
Yeah.
Or you want to wait for discussion?
No.
Okay.
ahead.
So I'd like to move that the council adopt or approve option C as presented.
Do you also want to include the additional option?
Yes, and the additional option for deductibles.
All right, council, we have a motion on the floor to approve option C and the additional option as presented by Gutwa. Do I have a second?
I don't understand the motion. What, you're
He's
talking about
wanting-
an option, what are you talking about?
We have three options for the healthcare coverage.
So you've asked for option C?
Yes,
And the additional
And
option
the
that's
additional
underneath
option.
it. It allows the employees to opt into a different plan,
Okay.
which has additional savings for the city if they choose that plan.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion on the floor to approve option C and the additional option as presented by staff for the fiscal year 2024-2025 healthcare employee benefits by Gutwa and a second by Foster. Any further discussion on this motion? All in favor, raise your hand. It's unanimous. Motion is carried. All right, while we're still on this item, the discussion came up about dependent coverage. Does anybody want to have any further discussion on dependent coverage before we move on?
for the dependent coverage, I know I don't take some of these. I know the city staff. I know how hard they work. And it's not like by requesting for this, like I'm not considering all that. But for some years, I've been talking to some of the taxpayers, and they keep making the requests, and I'm like, okay, we talked about it last year. We talked about it, and they say, what about this year? And I'm just bringing you the feedback that I'm getting, and they know they don't want to cut it. They know how hard the city staff work, and their families needs also to be healthy, because if you are working and your family is not healthy, it affects you, how you function. But they also recognize that every year the cost of insurance keeps going up. For those who have homes and other things, I know the insurance has doubled because of the cost of living and inflation. So to be just fair on both hands, both the employees and the taxpayer, I think having 60% will be reasonable to be able to help both ends so that we can work as a team, because they pay and you provide service. Thank you.
All right, would anybody like to make a motion about dependent coverage?
Yeah, I can make a motion. I can make a motion for the council to approve the percentage from, to reduce the percentage from 70% to 60% for dependents for health coverage.
All right, do I have a second?
You got a second right here.
Was that a second, Ray?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson? I was, okay. All right, we have a motion on the floor to approve a dependent care reduction from 70% to 60% on the employee health care benefits by Gutwa, and a second by Johnson. Any further discussion on this motion?
Yes, I think I'm a little concerned about this. I mean, we're raising their deductible. You know, we want to save our citizens $13 a household per year, but here we're not wanting to give our employees that do our day-to-day work the benefit of what they have right now. But with the raising of the deductible, I mean, I don't know. I have a hard time doing that right now.
Did you want to speak, Captain? Council, if you'll allow, while we're still having discussion.
Sure.
He had his hand up.
Sure.
I appreciate y'all allowing me to come up and speak to y'all tonight, council and mayor, city manager. Just wanted to put out there, and I appreciate those comments, Councilwoman Beeson. You had said earlier, sometimes we have a tough time comparing ourselves to other cities because of the size of our cities. These processes are how we compare our cities as far as pay. This is included basically in our income overall. And we're talking about, you know, lowering taxes yet again for the fourth or fifth year, you know, in a row. And then wanting to potentially take our dependent care down, when the city manager has given us an option to help offset that with HSA loan, or not HSA loan, HSA insurance that we never have had before as a city, to be able to offset those costs. So the ones that will be able to pick that for where they are in life, that's going to save the city money as well. It's also going to be a recruiting tool that we have as a city for the fire department, police department, city, public works. Everybody that's employed with the city, it's a huge recruiting tool. City manager already spoke earlier that, yes, where we aren't able to pay as much salary-wise, we're able to make up a little bit for what we offer and benefits. So I just want to encourage y'all to understand that it was 2 years ago that we did get the salary adjustments, muchly appreciated. All that we asked at that time and are still asking is that we stay within market value. This is what helps us stay within market value, is these benefit programs and these benefits that y'all offer to your employees. And again, I can't stress enough as far as the different options that we have out there this year, that I know some in the department that I work for are already talking about that's the route that they're gonna go. Some of them, it's not where they are in life. They might not be able to take that. But those are options that we didn't have before that are gonna help save money. So I really urge y'all to look real hard before you pull the trigger on taking away from what is our income. We know inflation has went up. You're not gonna be able to give us a COLA raise that reflects inflation. It's just not gonna be, it's not there, but inflation is there. And then when you take more away from our households, it makes it harder for us that are currently here, called retention and recruitment. Again, I can't stress enough, we've went a full year now plus without having to hire another firefighter because of the actions that you guys have made, and I appreciate that. So please take into account when y'all have to vote on this 60 or 70%, I urge you to please stay at the 70%. Thank you.
So
Thank
what
you,
was you
sir.
saying about you said employee may leave because of that? What did I hear you say?
I never said that an employee
have my
may
hearing.
leave because of that. There's always that potential if another city offers more money to offset. And we're talking about offsetting salaries to a certain extent. What I said as far as your comment earlier about having difficulty competing with other cities and not always being able to reflect that is this is how we compete. We compete with a better benefits package at some points because we don't necessarily pay as much in salary that goes into pensions and long-term investments for the city, so.
But didn't they give it, didn't council give you where you match other cities just here a couple months or ever how long ago?
We're not matching other cities, we're just in market value. And even this last year, we've already lost ground on that. We knew we were going to because everybody saw what everybody else was doing. And I told y'all that it will be a continuing thing. I told y'all that, and I appreciate y'all doing the salary surveys. You have to keep up with the salary surveys. We have to do the step plan. There's no wiggle room for the step plan. Other cities have step plan. It's a good investment that the city can do. Right now, we have the surplus, we can implement it, and it will help retention. But it all works together.
But how about all the other cities? Do they give 70%? I don't think so.
I think you misunderstood what I was saying.
No, I'm just
Where
saying.
we're not able to offer as much salary-wise, it helps make up with the benefits package. So you're correct, a lot of them don't. So it's that balance game. So, thank you all for your time.
Thank you, sir. All right, council, any further discussion on this motion?
I'd like to comment.
Okay.
Every year, we have this same discussion. Every year, those of us up here struggle with this decision. We listen to you guys. I guess I run in different circles than Mr. Gutwal, but I haven't had a single citizen, not one, tell me that they want to lower the fire department's dependent rate. Not one. In fact, most citizens tell me, we love our fire department. We love our police department. We love our ambulance. We see that ambulance going down the road, people almost cheer. So it's a really tough decision. We've got to balance this huge budget book that I've got here. This looks like an albatross, and it is. because we've got to decide where these guys are going to go with their stuff. I don't have the answer. I'm trying to decide. Hope you guys do.
All right, this savings was just $31,000, so we're looking at a 10% reduction, which is the motion on the floor to reduce the dependent coverage 70% to 60% would save the city $31,000. All right, so we have a motion on the floor by Gutwa, a second by Johnson. Any further discussion on this motion? I'm going to call for a vote. All in favor of the motion, raise your hand. Those opposed? All right, the motion failed. So the dependent coverage is going to stay at 70%. All right, moving on to agenda item number 7D, review, discuss, and give direction on the fiscal year 2024-2025 budget.
Mayor, may I?
Yes, sir.
Ask that we move 7E forward. We have a representative here from Atmos.
Okay.
I apologize.
Oh, okay. Would we need to jump to that item? Okay.
If you don't mind, if,
I don't mind.
Yeah.
Okay, council, we're going to go ahead and move on to agenda item number 7E, review, discuss, and consider possible action on a resolution approving a negotiated settlement between the Atmos Cities Steering Committee and Atmos Energy Corporation regarding Atmos 2024 rate review mechanism, filing and adopting new rate tariffs consistent with the settlement.
okay.
That was a mouthful.
Okay, we have Devontae here representing Atmos, and asked Mr. Brown, if you have any questions, I'm going to defer this one to you. So.
Okay. All right. Mr. Brown, do you want to give us a brief overview of this? We were talking before the meeting, and you had a good explanation about it.
Of course. Generally speaking, public utilities like Atmos, in order to increase rates on resident or commercial users, there's a process through the state, and they make, in essence, a rate application. And they submit reams and reams of data on their costs and why they believe they need to raise the rates. Many years ago, cities realized in order to address that, it made more sense for most cities to join a coalition. And there's expert lawyers and down in Austin, and they have experts. And basically, it's a negotiated process back and forth between the coalition and Atmos. And what usually happens is Atmos asks for this, and it's negotiated down to a certain place. And we're at the point now where the coalition has a recommendation of the rate. It's less than what was asked for by Atmos. But it's what the coalition believes to be fair. By joining the coalition, you basically have put yourself in the position where you have to approve this settlement, or if you don't, then you would be subject to the higher Atmos rate. Now, unless you wanted to fight this fight on your own, which doesn't make any economic sense. Some of the much larger cities in the state, sometimes Dallas, Houston, Austin, San Antonio, will have their own individual rate case on their unique circumstances, but every city I represent, including ones as large as Plano and McKinney, and they all are part of this process. And what's before you tonight is a resolution to approve that negotiated settlement that would allow it to put the negotiated settlement in place, which the committee believes is in the best interest of the ratepayers, not only of Keene, but everybody else that would be affected by this negotiated settlement.
Anybody have any questions for Mr. Brown? All right, council, then we just need a motion.
I'll make a motion, let's see, council adopt a resolution approving a negotiated settlement between the Atmos City Steering Committee and Atmos Energy Corporation regarding Atmos 2024 rate review mechanism, filing and adopting new rate tariffs consistent with the settlement. Whew.
Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion on the floor to adopt the resolution approving a negotiated settlement between the Atmos City Steering Committee and Atmos Energy Corporation regarding Atmos's 2024 rate review mechanism filing and adopting new rate tariffs consistent with the settlement by Bells, a second by Foster. Any further discussion on the motion? All in favor, raise your hand. Mr. Johnson, are you voting? Okay. Those opposed? And those abstain. You abstaining, Mr. Johnson? Okay, motion is 5-1 with 1 abstain. Motion is carried.
I'm sorry, Devontae.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Okay, moving back to agenda item number 7D, review, discuss, and give direction on the fiscal year 2024-2025 budget.
Good evening again, Mayor and Council. Mr. Bells, I like your name for this. This will be forever referred to as the albatross. So you have your albatross with you? I have one number, 2 numbers now for your consideration. We are currently sitting at roughly 95,000 in the positive, plus 100,500 for the decision you just made. So we're at 196,282. I think, somewhere around 200,000 is a healthy margin. Both Charles and I are pretty conservative. For example, sales tax, we're pretty conservative on that, but, Allsups is coming along pretty quickly. We're right at the finish line with Tractor Supply. So these are the 2 big numbers. And staff is here, and I'm here to answer any other questions you may have about budget, because we do need to start getting, the draft settled and all of this moving forward in the time frame, the strict timelines that we have for public posting.
I've got a question.
Yes.
I've discussed with you previously, but I want you to try to give me not an exact answer, but I said, how many hours have you and your staff put into this budget at this point? Just estimate for me.
Well, I would have to start with Charles and Dinah, and if a work week is 40 hours, they've probably been working 60 hours for the past 3 months on this, so I don't know, we have probably a couple thousand staff hours into this. So.
Are they salary?
Yes.
Okay. It doesn't matter if you work 1,000 hours. They weren't about the wrong thing in my eyes. What they need to worry about is what you get the job done right. That's the way I look at it.
Well, Council, I'd like the public to know this is one of the better presented budgets that we've had in its final form. The way it was done, it was very professional. I told you I liked the new software program that printed it out, and it just gave a whole bunch of extras and stuff and graphs and numbers in here. And it's one that I haven't seen before since I've been serving 6 years. So I do like it. I think you've done a great job putting it together.
Thank you. Yeah, I have to give.
And Mr. Williams, you as well. The whole finance team, I know, put a lot of hours and time into it, so.
Absolutely, I have to give.
Y'all did a great job, and when it goes online and people see it, I think they're gonna like it.
Think so.
It looks neat, looks professional, looks very high-tech for a small town like we are.
This is a step towards our, GFOAT Gold certification that we want to pursue, kind of a recognized standard.
Yes, Mr. Foster?
I've got a question,
Yes.
and I'm probably looking in the wrong spot, but if you look on page 31 of the albatross,
Verse 19.
yes, turn in your hymnal, the last entry is non-departmental. And Mr. Williams just pointed out that we're about $120,000 over budget in that particular fund due to the increases in TML insurance. But yet I noticed that our 2025 budget is like $150,000 less. So I must be making it up somewhere else. Can you just clear up where
There is, some of that was moved over to the enterprise fund side if I'm
Yeah.
to help offset that. The stuff we could move over, we did.
Okay.
So, and keep in mind, the bottom line on water, wastewater is still healthy. We're still at about 500,000 there, and that it goes back to your previous discussion on the sewer plant. I want to put money back in the piggy bank, pretty much as we can, and if we're clipping off even 500,000 a year, that doesn't even pay a quarter of it 10 years down the road, but we've got to do something. So that may help our bond position, bond rating, et cetera.
Yep.
Yeah, I would like to mention, I guess, for the public, I've noticed, y'all are a pretty senior crew, so, I mean, y'all have seen this, multiple times, so, thank you for your time in going over this with me, because I wanted to try and, address any concerns that y'all may have. Yes?
So the young lady who is presenting the audit mentioned that we might need to give some help to the finance department.
Yes.
What would be the wisdom in taking some of this overage and hiring someone to help out in finance?
We actually do. We have that built in
He has some in there.
for a position in finance. We do have that one position.
Yeah.
And we were not able to add anything to the sidewalk fund as of yet.
As of yet.
As of yet. But that's something we can do even after we pass the budget.
Yeah, if you notice, I think there's only 24,000.
Yeah, that we have left.
Yeah, which doesn't,
And how much were those sidewalks projects averaging, like 50,000 every time we did a section?
we'll defer to Don, but roughly that, I think 40-ish.
It depends on the length and how many ramps and curb cuts and stuff like that you had to do, but we're looking at this last 20,000 we have left, we get about 120 feet of sidewalk put in.
Okay, so we have like 25,000 now. If we had another 25, if we could add to it, we'd have 50. Maybe we could do another section.
And if that's something,
But we-
council would like, I would need to know that so that I can.
Yeah, you could either put it into the budget, or during the year, when you start reporting back to us that we've had some cost savings, we could
Sure.
allocate money later to go toward it. Because once we put it in that fund, it has to be spent for that fund, for that purpose. All right, council, do you have any other things you would like to see? We're just here to give him direction on the budget. If there's something you want to add, something you want to take out. Right now, he's told us we're at about 196,000, which is where he kind of wants us to be, close to 200,000, so it's looking good to me. Yes, Ms. Beeson?
On the Public Works Department, we were talking about, I think, a skid steer,
Skid steer, yes.
a lease to own. Did the money that we lease every year for that goes directly to the purchase price?
Yes,
Or do we get a purchase price at the very beginning so we know?
we do, yeah. They would have the overall price and then basically a 4-year purchase and maybe a balloon payment at the end for the
So
difference.
even the leasing, and then we still have a balloon payment?
Yes.
Do we know what that will cost this total?
You have the number on the skid steer, I know you were just looking at it. Or, excuse me, backhoe, yeah. Sorry, come on up.
I like the paying out, but I like to know the total it's gonna cost.
Well, each year it'll be 35,000 for 4 years, and then at the end it'll be 71,000 balloon payment.
Okay, 35,000 for 4 years,
Yes, ma'am.
and then do you know the balloon payment at the end?
It's 71. 71.
7, oh.
So we're over 300,000 for a backhoe?
Oh, here we go. No, let's see. Yeah. Somewhere with a calculator, 225.
Is that the best use of those funds?
That's over 200,000.
That's if you lease it. If you buy it, it's 166. In my opinion, it is.
Well, Don and I have argued this back and forth pleasantly. Is there any other equipment, Mini X or something that will serve the same purpose for less money?
No, a Mini X can dig plenty, but it's not big enough to do some of the things we need. Like if we have to put a joint of 12-inch pipe in a hole, the Mini X will go in the hole with it. They'll just fall over because it's not big enough. And also the mobility of the backhoe too. We can drive it across town with a bucket of dirt if we want. Instead of having a trailer, the skid steer, and take that in a dump truck with us.
If that's what you need a backhoe, they don't have a clue what backhoe does. But if you need one, I think you should get one. That's the way I believe it. When they learn about them, they'll know.
Thanks, sir.
Question, I have a,
I wasn't against it. I just want to know how much it's going to cost.
I'm just letting you know you need to learn about them before you talk about them. That's what I'm telling you.
so were you trying to ask a question? Okay, so you're saying the total price, if you were to pay cash,
It was,
then it will be 225,000?
if you pay cash, it is 175.
So 175
Yes.
total. So if we lease, you say 35,000 times 4.
Yes, and then 71,000 at the end of that.
So we are looking at 35 times 4.
What size are you going to get?
Just a 320p.
I'm sorry?
320p, that's about the smallest we can get without being too small.
And while we are leasing, who does the maintenance? It's the city?
I have to get back with you on that. But I think there's a maintenance program on it, but I'm not certain.
I
don't wanna
think
say
I
that.
read the maintenance program on it, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm just concerned, you know, leasing is, when you look at leasing, in general, whether it is for the city, private, you normally tend to spend more at the end of the day than either getting a used one or sometimes trying to get, you know, a new one. So, and it's very convenient, but there are some kind of fees, maintenance, they have to charge you, you have to take it to a certain kind of location, the parts. So then, once you are done with it, you end up coming short a little bit, even though it looks very reasonable from the beginning, because anything can happen in 4 years, or maybe in 2 years.
Mr. Bala?
I don't want to interrupt. We do have the cash position to do this if you didn't want to lease it, but this just kind of softened the blow, even though there is, 4 years worth of interest that we would be paying. So it's up to y'all.
So is it possible to look at, if we were to lease it and the interest, if we were to buy it and the interest plus interest, and also leasing and their terms, who is responsible for maintaining, and then we can make maybe a decision based on those two numbers?
Well, our fleet guy would be maintaining it as far as filter changes, oil changes, and stuff like that, so that would be minimal cost. But, I mean, if there's anything major, that would go to the John Deere RDO. And I don't know what the cost on that would be, because I don't know what would be wrong with it.
Does council have any direction for staff on what you'd prefer? If we can, again, we have the cash position of plus 500 right now. I think, what was the first payment on that?
The first payment was 35.
35, okay. All right, so, again, we could lease it, lease purchase program, or I'm used to the lease purchase. That's how I used to buy fire trucks. This is a major, equipment item. So it does spread the pain out a little bit, but we're paying interest, so.
And this is coming out of the water sewer fund?
Yes.
Yeah. So if we were to purchase it outright, it's going to come out of that 500,000 that we have, and we'd be down to 225,000.
currently the 500 we have in there is with the lease purchase, that first payment already figured, so. Budget.
Any direction, council, on leaving it in, making any changes to that item? I think Mr. Ballard's trying to give us the best recommendation for how to move forward.
I know we're losing money on interest, but again, it softens the,
We lose money on everything else, why not lose money on that?
I think for me, I know everybody has their own opinion, but if I know that you're going to add the interest and then give us what are we looking at in total. That's one option. Another one is those fine details, who is responsible for maintenance, parts, things like that. Because the devil is always in the details. Once you start running, oh, we can't do that, we have to send it to a certified whatever, while it is under the lease and insurance and all those things that comes with it. So if we can look at those two numbers, then it's easier to make a decision and say, okay, I can support this and also be able to know the working behind it. Thank you.
so we'll get those next council meeting too.
Thank you.
All right, council, anything else you want to discuss about the budget? You need any other direction from them?
I think we're.
No, we're good?
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
we'll get it.
All right.
Starting to
let's-
get a clear picture now.
Okay. Oops. Okay, moving on. We're now jumping down to agenda item number 8, executive session. We do not have one tonight, so we can omit agenda item number 9, reconvening. And we are now at agenda item number 10, request for future agenda items. Council, I'm going to ask you if anyone have any support for putting on a future agenda the collection boxes that Mr. Knott talked about during public comments for a discussion on if we want to regulate those and how we want to regulate them.
Yes.
You do? Okay. Let's go ahead and add that to a future agenda item then to discuss collection boxes and maybe review some of the policies that other cities done. I did print out the one for Cleburne, so maybe you can look for some other ones. Anything else, council, that you would like on a future agenda?
Keene, not Cleveland. We need to worry about Keene. We can't match with, that's what makes it so bad with you guys up here. You're trying to match other cities. It doesn't matter about other cities. Rob sat there and blabbed his mouth about other cities. What does it got to do? They all agree with other cities when it ain't got nothing to do with Keene.
I know, sometimes we
So,
look at
I
other
don't like
cities
hearing about
as-
it.
as an example on how to write policy. And it kind of gives us the verbiage and stuff and tells us what to think about. And then we apply it to our own city. We don't necessarily have to take everything that they do. We'll just see what fits us and use the parts that fit us.
Mike,
Yes.
just go ahead. Go ahead. Okay. The city manager, I know maybe several months ago, we did give the surveyors to go ahead and look at how much it will cost on Eastern, the extension of the sidewalk. We did stop by that little creek or, mini bridge. So I don't know if we can get the updates maybe in the next meeting or?
Sure. Update that.
All right, thank you.
All right, Mr. Foster?
Have we heard back from Mr. Hudspeth about whether he's going to attend our next?
He is. I am told that he is, that we were able to reach him, and he's supposed to be at the September 5 meeting. And he's also going to be at the Keene Chamber on August 22nd.
Have that on our agenda then?
I'm sorry?
That'll be on our agenda then?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And he'll be on our agenda again. All right, anything else, council, for a future agenda item? All right, at 7:53 PM, meeting is adjourned.